The unbelievable challenge of the Nürburgring Nordschleife keeps bringing fans and certainly teams and drivers back to this 24-hour annual event, year in, year out, and because almost you can never have a perfect lap around the 25.3 kilometre circuit, you can certainly never have a perfect 24 hours, but this is the big title that so many GT3 teams are out there to win. And just look at the crowd that we have this weekend. We're verging towards 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon and the start of the 53rd edition of the ADAC RAVENOL 24 hours of the Nürburgring. It's a crazy place, it's like no other. And unfortunately, to mop up one or two stories from yesterday, well, we'll deal with that in a second, actually, because the drivers are getting on board. We did have a top qualifying session yesterday, which was delayed, but Kevin Estre, doing only Kevin Estre sort of things that he can do, taking that pole position to put the 911 fan favourite Grello car. I'm not sure we finished the point about the 27 Lamborghini, so yes, Mirko Bortolotti lucky to be able to race today, and because of his indiscretion in those red flags, the 27 car has been put right to the back of that first starting group into 27th place, so it matches the race number. I fancy that that car is going to make quite a bit of ground on the opening lap. It's going to be started by Danny Juncadella, who was actually quickest in warm-up early this morning. Other starting drivers I can give you: Thomas Preining in the 911 Grello car. It's his flat six you can hear in the background now. Then David Perel, the South African, in the 45 Ferrari that Thomas Neubauer qualified with the 8:13.9. Maro Engels in the number 14 Mercedes from the inside of the second row, alongside Sven Muller in the 33 Falcon Motorsports Porsche. Markus Winkelhock in the number 1 Scherer Sport PHX Audi has Marco Mappelli in the Lamborghini from Abt Sportsline. So 28 was fine and did get its starting position of 6th place, whereas the sister Abt Lambo is right at the back in 27th. Can it mix it then with the other big German manufacturers? There's only one way to find out, as one of the Mustangs already dives into pit lane, but we are underway for the 2025 running of the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, and it is a good getaway from the lights going out for Thomas Preining. Further back, 4 and maybe 5 abreast of all of these SP9 cars, just being kicked up as well by the number 48 Porsche of Black Falcon. And this is the pinch point. Are they all going to be able to get around a tyre stack into turn 2 at the Yokohama S, as the Porsche, the Grello colours of 911, wriggles free? Down the inside there was nearly the Mercedes of Adam Christodoulou in its two-tone pink, trying to force Marco Mappelli out of the way in the 28 Lamborghini. But there has been a change for second position. Bilstein Mercedes, Maro Engel up to second place already, boys. Yeah, they've been keeping their powder dry, Mercedes, and I think they're going to see a lot quicker lap times from those cars and a lot more race performance from the Mercedes. Engel knew that his mission was to get onto the tail of that Grello Porsche of Preining, and he has done that. Mission statement completed. The rest of the field through the Vidal chicane, and for the first time we're about to through the Schumacher S, we're about to complete the first lap of this race on the Grand Prix track and about to go on to the Nordschleife for the very first time. How long will it be before we get inside of traffic? I think by about lap 2 usually, isn't it? And then forevermore we are going to be pressured into making those moves past the slower classes.
Looks as though it's actually the 5th position Lamborghini of Marco Mappelli that is just a little bit slower than Sven Muller in the Falcon Motorsports Porsche ahead. So the gap between those two, but then behind the Lamborghini is just a big, long queue of cars. And the first one directly is Christodoulou. And the Grand Prix circuit offers lots of opportunities for overtaking in SP9, but once you get onto the Nürburgring, you really need to have a big pace advantage to be able to make a move stick. So, take a breath. The leading pack, those 27 cars in start Group 1, are heading onto the Hatson back, and for Hoek Eichen
and Flugplatz. But whilst all that is unfolding at a different part of the racetrack, this is the second start group. Porsche Carrera Cup cars running on a Michelin-controlled tyre, and the 948 is the 48 Loesch Motorsport by Black Falcon car. But Patrick Grutter is going to have to say in this as well, as Alexander Hart in the 900 and the 918 entry for Nick Zalewski. So down towards the Yokohama as they go. Nick Zalewski in the blue and white colours of Mühlner Motorsport, and I reckon it's Nick squeezing into second position already. In amongst all of these, though, the SP10 cars, which by any other name are the GT4s from the SRO style of racing. GT4 not an FIA category, strictly speaking, but does run regularly in the Stefan Rattel organisation championships.
Here we go then, Group 3 about to take their green flag.
And there's an argument to say that actually the Subaru Technica Motorsport WRX is actually in the class of its own as well, because it did an 8.56 in qualifying. Compare that to Oleg Kvitka's car, which was about, well, 40 seconds slower, but it is put into Group 3 and it will start to edge away into a significant lead. The challenge now for Carlo van Dam in the Japanese car is, can he actually get the tail enders in Group 2 by about 2 or 3 laps in? And the 35 Aston Martin has clearly clanged the barrier pretty significantly, so, because that would have been pristine for the opening lap, I'm sure. And where precisely did this happen then? Whoa! Flansgarten. Oh dear, and that's huge. It's gone into the tyre barrier, not Armco, but heading just before Ice Curver, I think that is. But that's Flansgarten where the cars take off, and the car just hasn't slowed enough.
And that's not just, that didn't sound, we didn't see it, but that did not sound like a glance. No. That sounded like a hit, and we're seeing the team now having a pretty stealthy inspection of underneath those wheel arches. The car hit square, which helps, and you can see scuff marks from the left-hand front corner. This is a great battle. We're seeing the battle for second, third and fourth here. Hasse in the Audi.
Is that
He's currently running fourth.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Christodoulou.
Okay, so they massively caught Christodoulou then,
yeah,
through the traffic.
Yeah, that extra turbo boost that the Aston's been given overnight for the balance of performance really is coming into play then. That's the best sort of performance we're seeing this car, right up in the front and holding its ground against the more nimble Shima Sport Audi R8. Chasing down Christodoulou, just about 6.5 seconds ahead of these is the Pirelli Ferrari. The Realized Condor Racing Ferrari currently leading by 6.6 seconds last time by. But as we now go into that slow zone, and that's at Klostertal, if I remember. Yep, through Klostertal, that's the fast sweeps up towards the area of the carousel.
Why is it there, though?
I'm not sure. I haven't been able to establish that. I've been looking. We've got intervention vehicles. Maybe they are writing some. I can't see anything sort of apparent. But that's closed them right up. Look at that.
Totally so, and they're behind a
barriers.
car. They're doing the barrier repairs after the Cayman lost it and slammed into the right-hand side barriers. We caught sight of the Cayman stranded. Now that car's been recovered. Where's the green flag, though? Because Christodoulou needs to absolutely get on it. There we go. Oh, there's collision. Surely the Audi ran into the back of the Aston Martin there, and fully on the grass is Mauro Engel. So he did get one position in the Bilstein Mercedes, but I reckon there was a hit there as Haase picked up the pace, and Drudy just did not.
Drudy didn't react, and they were all going about 57 kilometers an hour behind what I think was a GT4 car. So they were actually being bunched up because that slower classed car wasn't doing 60. They were all losing the gaps that they had established, and Christodoulou reacted well, but Drudy not at all, and now damage presumably to the Audi 2.
Drudy was clearly looking at his dashboard there, because Christodoulou went, the Aston Martin didn't react at all.
Here we go.
And I'm not sure what was going on there. So Christodoulou in the purple car just ahead of the Aston there, he goes and he clears the slower class car. Slower class car goes to the left, Christodoulou goes to the, they're just coming up into the intervention. We're not quite at the green flag.
Where's the green, though? Did Christodoulou jump the green, and was Drudy trying to wait until the marshal post where the green flags?
We're going to find out, Johnny. We're going to find out in a moment.
So they're all caught behind a middle category car. You can't actually see it there. There's flag. The green.
Oh, and there, yeah, just didn't react. And I think the reason he didn't react was because the Porsche came and got in the way.
Is there any regulation to kind of punish Drudy for not reacting there?
I don't think so.
Because he's held other guys up.
Yeah, but I don't think so. No, because you're almost punishing a driver for going too slowly. Well, it's then the job of the car behind to find a way past.
Yeah, and then
Haas's preempting the car in front from picking up the pace, and when it doesn't, you need a plan B. Well, here is the plan B, perhaps, for Christopher Haas, because now he's using the toe and a little bit of side draft on the Bilstein Mercedes of Mauro Engel. Wheel arches almost touching there, and we're venturing towards 270 kilometres per hour, and Antonius Bucher, the left-hand kink, under the bridge.
Did you see the side draft come into play there, Johnny, for the Mercedes? They're using each other's side draft to stay with one another, absolutely side by side, through the kink and on towards the Tiergarten now. The Audi's going to have the line. Oh, and the Mercedes stays off the brakes. The Audi a little bit cautious there, understandably, at this early stage. But the Mercedes hands on to that position as they cross the line. Pirelli in the Ferrari, 9 laps completed. Christodoulou will come through in second. And then we've got Drudy in third. Engel in fourth. Hasser has to stay behind the Mercedes.
Red flag.
Yeah, I think we've got a red flag because there is no power in the garages and the pits.
Oh, no way.
There's an interesting reason to have a red flag.
Isn't it just?
And it hasn't come up on our timing screens. Because maybe timing don't have any power either. I don't know if we're going out to air. Maybe we're not.
Well,
we're
having a lovely conversation, even if we're not. But something's powering our desk, so we'll carry on talking for the time being. But yeah, okay, no power then. I sensed a bit of panic, but one of the lower order BMWs was in, so that was the crew dealing with that. But now clearly the message has got through that if you can't work out where your car is around the racetrack, where it is in the stint, and crucially if the pumps don't work to fill cars with fuel, we've got to stop proceedings, which is most bizarre, Dorian. It's a good job you came
very
up here.
bizarre. There is every time something new in this track, huh?
It's totally. I don't think I've ever seen this before.
Yeah.
You might be here for the next hour or so whilst we film full time.
3 minutes past 8, and we're racing down the start-finish straight. It's Kevin Estre in the Grello Porsche, and in behind it, side by side, the Falken Motorsport Porsche, making a move to ensure that it stays in second place, but being challenged very, very hard indeed. Next few rows further back, neat, tidy, worked all three abreast into the first corner in about 10th place, but for Kevin Estre did the restart exactly how he wanted to do it, and leads away from Alessio Picariello. And I think 1, 2, 3, Lucas Stoltz in third position. Then the Ferrari of Felipe Fernandez-Laza in fourth. Down the hill they go on the Grand Prix circuit, but they're looking for their moments. And Kelvin van der Linde is getting very, very close to the tail of one of the Mercedes in about 5th or 6th position. So still sorting themselves out. They go down to the bottom of the Grand Prix circuit, which is the Dunlop hairpin, the Dunlop Kerber, and then turn to the right and start going up the slope, neat and tidy. But for Grello getting away, Alessio Picariello in the better placed of the two Falken Motorsports Porsches, tucked in behind, but they've got a little bit of air between them and the best of the rest.
What interesting how they changed in the first bit of the lap. I'm going to say the first lap. When I say the first lap, I mean the GP circuit, which they're nearly coming to the end of now to go on to the Nordschleife. But the first bit, Estre did exactly what what Grello did on the first race start. It pulled away. Lucas Stoltz and the Get-Speed BMW was able to Kelvin van der Linde around the outside of the Lamborghini there.
Yeah, he's fighting very, very hard with Luca Engstler, and
He's done it. He's got the job done.
Job done, and that's important because what's the next corner for him? Come through the Vidal chicane, and the next corner is Sabine Schmidt's curve. That is a point at which, if you put your nose in front, it should stay there unless something works, something remarkable, unless the car in front is interrupted by something else. But at the moment, there's no tail end for them to catch for a handful of laps now. This is clean, pure, free racing, and it's stretching out. The sun fully in the face of the drivers. They go through Hatzenbach, then they dive into the shade, come out the other side of it, get towards Hochreich, and they're pressing on. First two cars making a good escape. Lucas Stoltz best, the rest from Felipe Fernandez-Laza. So it's Porsche, Mercedes, Ferrari. A huge lock-up from the number one Audi as it goes back onto the circuit into that Mercedes arena, the first couple of corners, and effectively turn two. So the first corner he's taking at sort of proper speed after coming out of the pits. Locked up. That will not have helped his tyres. This is Christopher Haas. He was the driver who had the rodeo ride, don't forget, over the grass after nearly hitting the back of Nicky Thiem's Aston Martin. In fact, I tell you what, it was a rotation at the first corner. I looked up and he was smoking tyres when he got to turn two. But that's because you've got that funny, it's not the regular turn two. You turn into turn one, as per on the Grand Prix circuit, and then you don't double back too much to the right. You effectively almost flick immediately to the left. It was a bit like he suddenly made a navigational error. I'm just going, oh no, not the traditional lap, we're on the cut through.
16 laps completed for Kelvin van der Linde, who brings the Rover Racing BMW M4 into the pits. Standard fare in the pit stop, as is the number 44. That's the Marshall Falkland Motorsports Porsche, in from 12th place. All these cars having completed 16 laps. Another car in the pits is the Red Bull team Lamborghini. Jordan Pepper at the wheel of that one. The Volkenhorst Motorsport Aston Martin is in with Nicky Team, bringing that car in. And 16 laps completed, Johnny. That's kind of... It's only 6 laps from the stoppage, but then they probably are on their 8th lap since their last fuel stop.
Oh, but now the 50 Equipe Vitesse Audi has found the fence. Sadly, that 50 Audi is not going to go any further with the wheel firmly wedged into the rear right wheel arch. So it's lost it just going through the twisty stuff at the top of the hill at Hor Act after the Caracciola carousel and firmly connected with the barrier. Also a spin for Porsche number 94 of, and a huge hit for the 33. Second place car has absolutely walloped it, and this is massive drama at the 53rd edition of the ADAC 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. Julian Andlauer, second place, coming around where the 94 Porsche had spun, and that was David Kiefer. And now the nose cover, I want to call it the bonnet, but of course the engine's at the rear of Porsche, the nose cover right flicked up against the Julian Andlauer windscreen. At least he can get into pit lane via the back door, but he's got to get round the rest of the Grand Prix circuit before he does so.
What I'm really concerned about there, Johnny, is there's a lot of fluid coming onto the windscreen, and there are little radiators at the front of that car, which I'm sure have been damaged to somewhat through the first chicane, absolutely unsighted, and it's actually the lights of the car facing him as he comes through the chicane, which means he's a deer in headlights or a rabbit in headlights. Yeah. Cannot see what he is driving into. And one car back was Kelvin van der Linde in the BMW, and somehow misses both of them.
How on earth did Kelvin van der Linde react so quickly to dodge to the right and get out of the way of both Porsches, Joe? That's the order down the left-hand side of your screen, and this is the amount of damage to the 33 Porsche of Julian Andlauer. Radiator and the whole of the front of that car stoved in heavily. Driver is out, and the car has been wheeled on the dolly jacks into the area where the two Falcon cars have been kept for the weekend.
Problem for the number 14.
He's just waiting for his time, is he?
But you're not allowed to sit in the pit in the fast lane. Problem for Get Speed. Actually, Get Speed got a penalty for that either last year or 2 years ago. So problem for the number 14 machine that was brought in by Fabian Schiller. We haven't even seen which driver was installed because they didn't go over the timing beam.
There's either a problem with the steering wheel.
Looks like the drive shaft goes.
Did I just hear drive shaft?
Yeah, possibly. Somebody needs to stick their head in and say, "Was ist los?"
So down the Dottinger Horn now.
What a sight.
It is, isn't it? Beautiful. Beautiful part of the day. Very lucky, those drivers, to be out there at this point of sunrise. The sun is going to be tricky, though, soon, Johnny. It's going to be right in their eye line. Half on the grass. Look at that. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Genius.
Heads up driving.
Put half of the car so that you're not wearing the rim out anymore on the tarmac. So put it on the grass. Still, do not do this at home, everybody.
It was actually at Hatzenbach, and there's the thump just out of frame. So it's whacked the Armco barrier. Maybe the tyre
carried on.
Just carried on.
Yeah, it didn't spin. Didn't seem to disturb his rhythm too much. He's just like a grind on a skateboard.
107th place, so it's the Dörr Motorsport SP10 car number 169, which has been in the barrier, possibly on both sides of the track, and done a huge amount of damage, well, to the front right wheel for starters. Cars having to go left and right, including the 54 Pirelli shod dynamic motorsport Porsche, which is running in 6th place. And the problem is you're arriving on this scene at a high speed. You will have been through yellow flags and now into a code 60, precisely where the 107 car has stopped.
That's that
Sorry,
massive...
not 107, 169.
Did you ID where it is, by the way, guys?
No.
That's through Klostertal. That fast section on the run-up all the way to the... It comes in, you come out of Nürburgring,
yeah,
and it's those flat-out sweeps towards the carousel.
So it's the latter end.
Yeah, it's towards the end of that. Yeah.
So which bit after it gets
So
Klostertal, right?
See,
yeah.
see where it is.
So you've gone through the left-hander, and then you're actually starting to slow for the base of the carousel. It's Sven Schadler who has had this big moment, spewing coolant as well over the road.
Mercedes and the apt Lamborghini are in a battle as well, going through turn 2. Oh, smashing manoeuvre there from the Get Speed car, and the number 17 of Get Speed and the purple people eater is through.
Great stuff there.
And that's Ralph Aaron. He was awake this Sunday morning. And who's in the Lambo? That was Christian Engelhardt. So code 60, code 60, code 60 through the first part of that Haug hook. Aaron swings out and then goes for it. Now, where was the green flag though? Because there was one on the left he overtook before. If there was a one somewhere else, he's fine. I was deliberately looking for that there. Problem for Boccolacci. Problem for Boccolacci in the Falcon Motorsports number 44. They've had a horrible race, but he's fought back up to 8th position. But something is given up on that car. As he was coming through Galgenkopf, it sounded horrible.
And it's ground to a halt on the Dottinger Hoe. So that does that negates any overtaking opportunity on that part of the circuit for now.
I think that's a drive shaft again.
It sounded horrendous, whatever it was.
It's a drive shaft or a gearbox, some kind of drive line. That's the Dacia Logan and at least one other car. And that is a huge accident. The dust literally just settling out on the far side of the circuit. Peter Mackay, John Hindhoff and Harley Harton at the moment in the booth. And Peter, you are shaking your head ruefully here. No. Is that one of the Astons?
It is. It's by looking at the numbers, the number 70, 74.
Martin Kafka, who's one of the leading lights behind that Dacia Logan.
Yeah, it's the 74 Volkenhorst car.
Well done.
At the moment. That is a big shunt. Can you recognise which part of the circuit this is, Harley?
This is the exit of Flugplatz.
That's fast.
Very fast. Yeah.
So one of them will have gone off the circuit and come back. Well, the witness marks would say that that happened quite a long way back, actually, because there's a big dent in the arm core, and that wouldn't have been left there. So who went off first, and then what happened? Into the garage, should I say, goes the Get Speed number 17. Now, we saw this with the other car after it had a diff problem when they were trying to get that car out, and that one's gone back in as well, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Good to see the driver out of the car of the 74 Volkenhorst machine. That is a big hit there for RS Balanian.
This, without any safety car intervention, is the battle for the lead we're talking about. At the top of the hill at Arenberg now, before they drop down into the foxhole. 5 hours, 41 minutes to go.
Kevin Estre is coming up behind the number 27, 27 Lamborghini of Jordan Pepper, who's running a lap down. 7th position, but running a lap down.
Not quite a lap down yet. He's just on the end of the lead lap. Not that that's going to help.
He's let them go. He's let them go.
That's smart, boy. But nose to tail now, the leaders, the now Forest. How do you like this, Peter? How do you like this? What a last 40 minutes of our stint we're going to have. This will be broken up The BMW actually will be in the pits, I think, at the end of this lap, won't he? So here's where the advantage lies with the 911, even if Rafa Marciello gets by. And I tell you, Rafa will want, and BMW and Rover Racing will want to make the point that we can pass you. He will go through if he can. For my money here, Peter, he will go through if he can. As they're heading down towards Verstappen. Oh, the leader has hit another car, and almost, he has. It's cannoned one BMW into another. I think there's a hit there on the Rover BMW, and that's on Estra. That is on Estra. Oh my goodness me. And there's a car upside down. Is that the 98 car? It is.
No, it isn't. It was an Aston Martin.
Is it an Aston?
SP10 car, yeah. Tipped over as Estra tried to get through. That will surely be a penalty for Estra.
Yeah, you're right. It was the Aston Martin with the strike. So no, Estra had no right to be down the inside there. BMW had the bounce that I saw, that I thought was the hit on the BMW, was Rafa Marciello having to take to the curbs and go through. There's not. There's the pressure. That's exerting pressure. Exactly what we were talking about. And the BMW had to take to the curbs on the right-hand side just before Verstappen. There was a moment when I thought that Aston was going to hit the second-place car, and Jordan Pepper, just being lapped, by the way, in 7th position, had to virtually come to a standstill. How do you see that one, Peter?
So difficult.
I tell you, the only thing that might get Estra away with that is he tried to back out of it and clip the curb, which put the car sideways. I bet that won't up the pit lane.
The Manti crew, Thomas Preining, watching in the back of the garage. Oh, well, they may get a penalty, they might not. Thank goodness it's not our job to decide on that one. Already the mechanics going into action in case they're required.
Now then, is Kevin Estra heading in the direction of the race control office?
Now we've got Dörr Motorsport with him. Were they were running the Aston Martin?
Yes, they were.
So I
7-9.
wonder whether he is going to go over and apologise to the Aston Martin, or this is now the march to the stewards. I think this is going towards the stewards' room. And I like the way that they've approached this. I like the way that they have waited to allow Kevin to have his say before the stewards making a decision.
Yeah.
Obviously, the other driver, Rolf, taken to hospital, so won't be able to give his opinion, but we do understand that he's just having checks and is okay. And now there's just 0.8 of a second between Guven and Farfus, and they're on the Dottinger, having been delayed by some yellow flags. No cars between them. Well, now there is, but there won't be in a second again. We've got a race on back on track, because first lap out the pits for Augusto Farfus and for Ayhan Guven, and a TCR car slows Guven through the Tiergarten, and this will allow Farfus to get onto tail. But I wonder how aggressive Augusto will want to be, knowing that potentially there is a penalty looming. And maybe just shadowing is okay.
He will not be shadowing.
Nah.
He's caught him.
He's going to go for this, surely.
There was 7 seconds in between first and second. It's now nothing. It's now bumper-to-bumper driving now. And Augusto Farfus, I'm not sure he has that page of let's just sit behind has been ripped out of his textbook years ago. Probably back in his karting days.
This is the Grand Prix track, the best place to try and prize an opening, try and not force an overtake, but just make it happen. But you've got to hope that the traffic falls in your favour as well, and the BMW couldn't quite run out to the apex there because of the maybe SP7 car in behind. A flash of the lights.
Yeah, audacious that, wasn't it? Get out of my way. I know you've been leading for ages, but now it's my turn. Get out of the way. You are holding me up.
Oh, is that the Ferrari?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes, it is.
White
yes, it
and
is.
red Ferrari.
Yeah. 45.
From third position, Fernandez Laser.
Yeah. And how's it ended up there? That is the direction of travel, but there's a BMW in the back of it. Now, have they clashed in a sort of similar style? Just getting to this now in real-time pictures, but the 45 Ferrari for Realized Condo Racing was running in 6th place. And, well, would that have had a shout on the podium? Well, no more after 115 laps. It's at the Stefan Beloff F, so not that far ahead of the Kleiner Carousel. And the rescue units are with the incident very, very quickly.
So for a front-running car, and probably the BMW, this is a whole flat. This is flat right through this area. So if the Ferraris come across a BMW, then maybe thought, right, okay, I'll go to the outside. And you do have to give it a split second to decide where's that car in front of me going to go. And if the wrong decision was made and the Ferrari was carrying so much more speed, then yeah, the contact would have been made. And it's a hard one to get out of, and you know, this is one of the pinch points where you really have to give it a second, give it a split second even, to decide where you're going to overtake.
Look how close Augusto Farfus is. He's in the slipstream. He pulls to the outside, and with the slipstream, with the momentum, the BMW takes the lead. Only one BMW on the entry list, and it leads here at the Nürburgring.
Tremendous overtake that, and that's what I've been wanting to see, is the straight line speed of the BMW once it gets into the toe of another car, and it just swallowed up the kilometres there, the metres before Antonius Bucher, and jumped ahead, actually way before Tiergarten, and is now able to stretch its legs a little bit when it's on its own, not only with the toe, with that car in front as well. 919 facing the wrong way. This was the 54 Porsche up the inside of the Cup car and then into the tyres for the 919. Oh, and it's torn the wheel off the car as well. So 919, where was that in the order? 7th for Joe Dexnis.
Oh dear, puncture on the, many puncture on the track and puncture in the car parks as well.
Yeah, but they were sensible and brought a trolley, Jack. Very, very good. Still, no news on whether that penalty is going to be upheld. Chan Guven then, about to get out. Kevin Estre, limbering up, ready to go and sit down for about an hour and 50 minutes, which could bring the Manthey Racing team to history. They would once again reclaim the undisputed top of the tree for Nürburgring 24-hour wins if they win here today.
I'm just thinking, if they don't, imagine the heartbreak for Kevin Estre. 2 weeks on the bounce.
2 seconds. I don't think, I mean, he's disappointed about Le Mans, but I don't think there was very much more that they could do.
No, absolutely.
So I think that's mitigated a little bit. They got hurt by a safety car, started at the back of the 21 car field of GTPs at Le Mans. That's what we're talking about. They were disqualified from qualifying, but they started 24th first in a 24-hour race. Didn't make a blind bit of difference. And still, no penalty taken. There is one more pit stop. I think once you get inside the last hour, it's added to your time.
Yeah, that's the only way. I think it's going to be.
So that's what they're doing. They're braving it out here, and they'll be arguing their case. But right now, they're not taking it.
No, and because once it's served, you can't get it back. That's the thing, is they can't give the time back once you've served it. So at the moment, that's what they've got to try and do. Is that from now on they will have one pit stop left, which will be a lap later than the Rover car. Which now that's the question. Calculate what minute that's going to be to go. Well, at the moment, the track is fully green, which would then be maybe an average time around 8.5 minutes a lap if you have some slow zones in code 60s.
The Lamborghini has no driver at the moment. Is this a late retirement? I think it is. I think that's heartbreaking disappointment down at Abt. I mean, the only crumb of comfort is it's not the car that's on the podium right now, but Danny Jucadella about to take his helmet off. He must have been getting ready to jump into that car from Bortolotti, and something has gone awry with the Lamborghini. We'll find out in due course exactly why.
Is the gap going to come down? There'll be a pivotal moment where the BMW just picks up a huge amount more kph, and it's just about now there in the draft of the Grello car. Look at the BMW go. Which side of the road is he going to go? To the left? No, it is to the left. I thought he might try it to the right, but he's left it a little bit too late. And Antonius Bucher is approaching now. Got off the throttle, we're thinking, because of the pit stop, surely.
Yeah, he didn't want to really risk anything in this section here, the Tiergarten. We saw what the Van Tor brothers were able to do at this section of the track coming off there. So there's no real reason to risk anything, unfortunately. Into the pits then, the Rover BMW comes in, and with what was the time?
Well, it's telling us conveniently it's going to be 2 minutes and
brilliant.
16 seconds for a pit stop, which is 41 minutes away from the checkered flag. And what we'll now have to look out for is Kevin Estre as he's going round, because the 2:16 that's displayed against his name will slowly decrease with every single minute still to go. It's already gone down 2 seconds, 2 minutes 14 now. And this is the advantage of pitting 1 lap later in the final 70 minutes of the race.
There's a bit of traffic to deal with here. Oh, he has to go onto the grass to get past the 2 slower cars, but at least there is no slow zone to get caught up behind.
His missus is absolutely living this, isn't she? She's there, she's alongside. If they could fit a passenger seat, she'd be all for it.
So it was a Cupra and possibly a Golf over to the far right. They went 2 abreast, and Estre pass on the grass, living up to his name. Managed to lap both cars at once, but with 2 wheels in the weeds. And the next few corners, therefore, are much less grippy. And this pit stop is probably going to be the most speediest of Manthey, because the time pressure, though not huge, will be ringing around their minds.
Well, they only need 32 minutes of fuel. Well, they need a bit more to get him back, I suppose. But that's not a full tank. We know that. Here comes Van der Linde into the Kleiner Carousel now, and heading towards the final stages of the lap, up towards Schwab and Schwantz now through the right-hander.
20 seconds. It's actually 15 seconds now before Estre will burst back onto the track. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 more seconds. Have they timed this perfectly? 2, 1. And he will go across the line. 0.2 of a second overtime. And that is the reaction from Manthey, and also I think the crowd, actually, to know that Manthey continued to lead in the 911 car, and that's the distance back to Kelvin van der Linde's Rover Racing BMW, with pretty much exactly 30 minutes of the 53rd edition of the ADAC RAVENOL 24 Hours of the Nürburgring to go. The Dynamic GT Porsche, a new name to conjure with in the podium positions. We had mentioned previously that the lap times, particularly from Bastien Boos, but also his teammates Matteo Cairoli. Oh, Joel Sturm's been in that car for a fair old time as well, turning up the wick. And we mustn't forget Loic Hartog in not quite an exclusive club, but it's a small one of 7 drivers who are doing all 3 of these 24-hour races back to back. For the final time across the line to begin the next lap. So this is the last chance at racing speed for the fans in the Mercedes Arena grandstand to greet the Grello car. 8 more minutes of the race to go. So we will be just beyond the 4 o'clock marker for Kevin Estre and the 911 crew that shares this car. We haven't seen Patrick Pilet in it. We have, though, seen so many stints for Ayanchen Guvin and from Thomas Preining. And for the last few hours, they've just been sitting in their chairs, unable to move. They've outwardly been looking quite chilled out, but I don't think that's the case underneath the surface of the water, if you know what I mean. The swan legs will be going like crazy, and they'll be calling their teammate Kevin Estre through every single one of these final 9 sections. One of them is out of the way for Kevin Estre. He has a 20-second lead now, which is just about the advantage he pulled out by pitting 1 lap later than the BMW. But how much is the 1 minute and 40-second penalty going to come into play? And we understand that the penalty of the 1 minute and 40 seconds is still going to be heading in his direction, still going to be heading the way of 911. We haven't yet had confirmation that it's going to be converted into what's called a replacement penalty yet, but those messages are still coming through thick and fast for a variety of cars. 911 is not on the list, but as far as we understand, this 1 minute and 40-second penalty still hangs over the head of the Grello Manthey Porsche. There are now murmurs, and I haven't seen this document by my own eyes, but there is a document floating around on, I think, the ADAC portal that says that Manthey appealed the decision about the collision with the Aston Martin, and that appeal has been rejected by Walter Hornung, well, by the stewards that work with Walter Hornung, the race director. So that's why all of this has taken such a long time. Manthey EMA saying, we don't think we should have had a 1 minute and 40-second penalty. It's been thrown out. Look at the smiles on the BMW drivers. They know that even finishing second on the road is going to be enough to win the 53rd edition of the ADAC RAVENOL 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. Still keeping an eye out for a potential change for fourth position, but it seems very unlikely that working its way through the Hohenrhein corner and onto the start-finish straight, it seems unlikely that this will be our winner, even though Kevin Estre takes the checkered flag. It was always going to be the current overall leader that wins today, but look in the background, because 22 seconds further down the road, the Rover Racing BMW surely will be frantically flashing its lights of Kelvin van der Linde. This is a weird scenario, I realise, in a motor race where the car finishing second and a number of seconds down is almost called the winner by Rover Racing, but they've thrown confetti over the M4 GT3. They surely know that they've won the race. There's no celebrating whatsoever at Manthey EMA. So even though Kevin Estre finishes as the lead driver, that's got to be your winner for ADAC RAVENOL 53rd edition of the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring.
The Mustang that finishes in fourth place. Oh no, we've had a change, Johnny. Across the line there was a change.
The Lambo's got him.
Yeah, the sprint to the flag through after the Tiergarten, and the Lamborghini will finish fourth. That means the Ford Mustang
just gone through now. Mustang just gone through now, and heavily delayed actually.
A dejected-looking Kevin Estre. He will relive that moment when he came up to pass the Aston.
So it's Kazunori Yamauchi, who is the Gran Turismo series producer. He's part of the reason why this race is so massive these days around the world, producing the racetrack in virtual reality and giving so many fans of this event and of the track the opportunity to experience it for themselves. As the champagne will spray here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, it's a win for BMW, their 21st in the history of this event, but a 15-year wait really since the full distance marker after a peculiar year 5 years ago in COVID. BMW are back, perhaps, for a longer run at this race after it's more recently been dominated by Porsche and by Audi. From a very sunny Nürburgring and the 24 Hours, well done to BMW. We will see you next year. From Joe Bradley and Johnny Palmer, it's bye-bye for now.